even before you are saved because of the work of Jesus. Jesus has bought the rights. He's king over heaven and earth. And so Satan is no more than a tool. That's what I'm trying to get at. Satan is no more than a tool today. My brother. All right, we ready? Cup of coffee today, man. Although it's in the afternoon. I've been recording more in the afternoon, even though it's blistering hot. All right. I'm trying to decide whether or not we're going to read this. I don't think I'm going to because it's a long mailbag. We're still doing mailbags. If you have a question over something that you've heard me preach about, obviously you can find my preaching stuff on Facebook and you can search that out. I need to probably put more sermons on my site, probably. But some of the places I preach, they're not conducive to recording. Sometimes they are. But anyway, if you have any questions, you've heard me preach, something I taught on, something I said in one of our videos, and you're like, hold on, I got a question. I got pushback on that. Just message me. And so I try to even respond to those comments that are on my YouTube channel. If they're snide and mean, I don't respond to them. But if you have a question about something I talked about, would love you to mail it to me. And so let's get started here. I'll put my clock on. So I got a recent question. I don't read the whole thing, but it was in regards to something I'd said in a service, that the passage that was out of Isaiah 54, no weapon formed against you will prosper. I made this statement that that didn't apply to you. Okay, that's during an Old Covenant time period to Old Covenant people. And it doesn't apply to us because of Colossians 2:15, he disarmed the powers and authorities, which is true. So the weapons, our enemy doesn't have any weapons against it. They've been disarmed. And so I want to talk about that a little bit more because I think I was a little off. Obviously, Old Covenant, New Covenant, very different. But I went back and studied the Isaiah passage. And the Isaiah 54 passage is actually a prophecy concerning us. So let me see if I can clear some of this up. And here's the premise. We've got a series, our Heavenly Realm series. I'd love you to check it out. The idea behind this book was not to have a 450, 500 page academic book that no one will read. Actually, when I started studying this in 2020, there was a guy that was gaining notoriety. He's no longer alive. He wrote The Unseen Realms, and he was out of Asbury. Craig Keener. What was his name? Unseen Realms. I've got the book. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. I forget. I've got the book. You know what? I think I have the book on Kindle. What is his name? Oh my word. Anyway, so he did this, and I've read several of his books. What in the world? I got all of his books on Kindle. See, you're going to press me now to open these up. Kindle. And anyway, he was an academic and fantastic scholar, and really opened my eyes to a lot of the spiritual warfare stuff that I was already studying. And so on one hand, I kind of shied away from his writings because I didn't want to color what I was studying. I really wanted to come back to the Word as best as I could, just kind of free and clear from, all influences. I'm not going to be able to find a book. I've got so many books on here. It doesn't surprise me. But you can look it up, Unseen Realms. It'll probably come to me in the middle of this video. And then I'll be like, this is his name. And you're going to be like, Jeremiah's so ADD, which I'm really not. Maybe I am some. But this guy is fantastic. You know what? It would have been quicker if I would have just Googled it, Unseen Realms. Oh, here it is. Michael Heiser. As soon as I saw the book, I realized his name. So he's got Michael Heiser, Unseen Realms. He's got actually a whole series of books. But his are more academic, and that's not bad. But they're thick and heavy, and there's several books. I wanted something that I could do for like course curriculum. and an introduction to the topic. In fact, all of the books in the series, which is why they look the same, we've got the Heavenly Realms, Heavenly Realms, one sword. And then we got Daily Declarations, one sword, Heavenly Realms as two. And then the third one, which I'm working on now, will come out this fall, which is dealing specifically with our armor in Ephesians chapter 6. That one will be a little bit different than this, cutting out the key concepts, and it's going to be a little bit fuller chapters because I do want to get to the book format a little bit more. This was not really written in book format. This is almost a study guide. And it's 8 chapters, it's condensed, it's almost cliff notes short, and then you've got the videos that you pair with it. So you got the word studies in here, small group questions, the statements in each chapter. Each chapter is a statement over that particular aspect of the study, and there's 8. We divided it up into 8 aspects, so it's a huge deal. But if I'd have written the book, it'd have been 450 pages. So I didn't want to get into all of that. So what I'm talking about today is directly related to this study. Where Paul comes out in Ephesians and talks, uses language that is relevant and normal for the early church. It's abnormal for the church today, which is not good. Paul says stuff like Ephesians 6:12, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. He didn't say he didn't say, well, you don't always wrestle. He said, no. Your enemy is not physical. Okay, your problem is not physical. The answers for our world is not physical. They're in the spiritual. And so the daily declarations is about fighting that enemy in the spiritual through prayer and declaration. That's why Jesus taught on prayer. It's really significant. So, hey, check out those books and the courses that are on this. The courses on the YouTube channel are free. Books are cheap. Go to jeremiahbolich.com and get those. So I want to go through in this video a little bit on this. So the premise is during an old covenant time period. Let me say this. The spiritual enemy that you and I face today is different than the enemy before Jesus. Just think about that. The Lucifer and the demonic realm underneath him that we have today, they're different. They're different. They have been whooped and defeated by Jesus. And this is a big deal why we talk like this. Our success is because of Jesus and Jesus alone. I make this statement. It's hilarious. I got this pin from a church I was at, and it's a thing for Sonic in their area. I'm a big dill, or they're dill pickles. They sent it to me because I say it so often. We're not the big deal. Jeremiah Bolich is not the big deal. Billy Graham wasn't the big deal. No one's the big deal. He's the big deal. Okay? So you're not the big deal. You are filled with the Holy Spirit, which is the big deal. Now that makes you a big deal, but it's not because of you. It's because the Spirit lives inside of you. So I don't have any power. I don't have any authority. I have the power and the authority that lives inside of me in the Holy Spirit. And when I, in intimacy with Him, am led by the Spirit, the Holy Spirit comes out of me and accomplishes what the Spirit wants to accomplish. So I'm led by the Spirit. I bear the fruit of the Spirit. I operate in the giftings of the Holy Spirit. I have the mind of the Spirit, which Paul says in Colossians chapter 2 is the mind of Christ. So see, your value is not in your flesh, in your talents, in your abilities. Your value is in the Spirit that lives inside of you. That's so significant. Christianity is not possible without that. So that's the premise. During an old covenant time period, Lucifer, whom Jesus called several times in John and in Luke, the prince of this world. Listen to this statement. This is crazy. This is Jesus and in his wilderness temptation, and put this up on the screen, Leland, in Luke chapter 4, verses 5 and 6. The devil leads Jesus up to a high place and shows him in an instant all the kingdoms of the world. So Lucifer takes Jesus up in the wilderness temptation to high place, shows him in an instant all the kingdoms of the world. And he says, I will give you all of their authority and splendor, for it's been given to me. And I can give it to anyone I want to. People don't understand that from the time of Adam and Eve, what sin is not a mistake. It's not an accident. It's not something in the flesh. Oh, I won't do that anymore. Sin is a spiritual decision of rebellion that opens me up to the enemy and oppression and exploitation and a demonization and persecution from a spiritual realm that manifests physically. That's what sin is. Sin is not just something physical. I see people come to church, they can feel convicted of sin. I'm not going to do that anymore. Sorry, doesn't work like that. If you could quit sinning, you don't need Jesus. No one quits sinning. You have to be delivered from sin. You have to be saved from sin. So sin is a rejection, a rebellion against God, which cuts me off from the source of life and power and authority that I was created to have and leaves me vulnerable to the enemy. That's what sin is. And so for 4,000 years, from the sin of Adam and Eve until Jesus came, mankind was just dominated, oppressed by the enemy. God and the angelic realm move in and provide this protection and warring on our behalf. But when Jesus comes, we have an individual who's not under sin. He wasn't born in sin. He was born in a sin-scarred body. He had the same kind of body we had, that age and all that. So he was born in the sinful world we are. But who he is in a right relationship with God. The enemy had no authority over him. He never sinned. And so the enemy comes to tempt him like he did Adam and Eve. Takes him to this mountain, shows him in an instant all the kingdoms of the world. Says, hey, I'll give this to you. And he can, because it was given to him. You say, who gave him that? Adam gave him that. Adam, when he sinned, gave authority over the enemy. Gave everything that God had in his right. Adam was created to rule. Satan wasn't. We go through all of this in the book. Go through all of this in the book series. You got to you got to read the book. You got to go through the series. It's like super significant. So Satan takes him up, shows him the kingdom, says, I'll give it to you. Bow down and worship me. Jesus is like, dude, get lost. Okay. And so during an old covenant time period, like over and over and over, Jesus calls Lucifer the prince of this world because he was. He pulled the shots on the earth, walked in the authority. Oh, there's so much we could go into that. Okay. Now, what happens after Jesus is he dies on the cross, goes into the grave, takes captivity captive, comes out, and he says to the disciples in Matthew chapter 28, verses 18 through 20, all authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Satan is no longer in charge, not just on earth, but in the heavens. Like he has no authority, no rule. Satan doesn't even rule hell. That's what's so significant. You say, who rules hell? Jesus. He is judge, jury, and executor of judgment. Hell is not an inheritance for Satan. He's not going to go there and rule. God's not like, well, you can't rule here, but you can rule there. No, hell is a punishment for Lucifer. Lucifer is not going to be at the great judgment. There's this idea that Lucifer will be at the judgment and he gets all those that God, that live in sin, that didn't respond to God. That's not true. If you go back to in Revelation chapter 20, Lucifer is the 20 and 21, but I think it's just 20. Lucifer is the third person thrown in the lake of fire. The first is the false prophet. The second is the Antichrist. And the third is Lucifer. Lucifer doesn't even face judgment at the great white throne judgment. Jesus comes back, grabs him, puts him in chains, brings him out, defeats him, and then Jesus throws him in the lake of fire. Jesus is, hey, I'm taking executive order on this. Bam, throws him in the lake of fire. So Lucifer right now, not like the old covenant period, right now has no authority. Okay, so let's deal with this passage in Isaiah 54. And Leland, you can put this up. It's in verse 17. No weapon formed against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and this is their vindication from me. That is a prophecy. In fact, if you go up to the beginning, right above verse 1, at least in the NIV, the future glory of Zion, when Jesus comes back and reigns there. Okay? Oh, excuse me. When Jesus came the first time and died for our freedom. Okay? He will come back and reign there. But this is the future glory that he's talking about. There's no weapon that can, it's not like an old covenant time period. So I want to make a correction on something I said. It's not that this doesn't apply to us. Probably a better way to say it is it didn't apply to those in the old covenant at that time. Because at that time, they were under oppression and God limited, and God's the ultimate authority, and he didn't let Israel be destroyed. He come to their defense and all of this kind of stuff. Always saved a remnant. God is God, okay? He's going to preserve his plan. He's awesome. He's killing it, okay? But for us in this day, Jesus, Colossians chapter 2:15, put this up if you don't mind, Leland. In Colossians 2:15, Paul writes, and having disarmed the powers and authorities, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by the cross. Okay, so that's verse 15. So when Jesus comes out of the grave, he disarms the enemy. The enemy that you and I face is not the enemy that Jesus faced. Back in the old covenant, the enemy had weapons. I mean, he could afflict. I mean, he could do all kinds of things because sin reigned in mankind. But now that sin is rendered powerless over the saints. And there's even an element of, it's not just like Jesus has power and authority over the saints. Jesus has all authority. This is Matthew. Put this up real quick, Leland. Matthew chapter 28, verses 19 and 20. Therefore go, verse 18. Then Jesus came to them and said, verse 18, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. That's either true or Jesus is a liar. It's either true or he lied. So he's all authority. And if he has all the authority, Satan has none. Satan has no authority. Okay? And you're like, well, then what does that mean over people that are not believers? And again, we're getting into some of the book stuff. But if you go into Ephesians chapter 2, and we're going to pull this up on the screen. This is beautiful. Where do I pick up on this here? Verse 4. Well, let's read from Leland. Let's go verse 1. This is bring them up one at a time. So we'll bring up verse 1, then verse 2, then verse 3, then verse 4, then verse 5. So, first 5 verses of Ephesians chapter 2. As for you, you were dead in your transgressions and sins. This is what we used to be. Believers, he's talking about. Verse 2, in which you used to live when you followed the ways of the world and the ruler of the kingdom of the air, that's Lucifer, the spirit who is now at work in those who are disobedient. So the demonic is at work in disobedient, not work in believers, okay? We used to be like them. That's what Paul is saying. So the spirit is at work in them. Verse 3, all of us lived among them at one time, gratifying the cravings of our sinful nature and following its desires and thoughts. Like the rest, we were by nature objects of wrath. Okay, just like them now who are operating under oppression of the enemy because they're living in sin, which opens the door for the enemy to oppress them and demonize them and persecute them. Okay, spiritually, we were like that at one time, is what Paul's saying. Look at this, verse 4. But because of his great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, this is big, verse 6, made us alive with Christ even while we were dead in transgressions. It is by grace that you have been saved. And then verse 6 is we're raised up and seated in him. So God was at work in our life because of the work of Jesus, even while we were sinners. Here's what I'm saying. Satan is on a leash. So it's not like Jesus rules over everything that's God's kingdom, and then Satan still has a kingdom. Satan has no kingdom. He has no weapons. He's been rendered, Colossians 2:15, he's been disarmed. He's been rendered powerless, okay? And so he can only oppress you if you invite him in your life. But even then he's limited. Like, we can't be tempted by more than we can handle. Oh, where's that passage? I probably should, Leland probably already has this pulled up. But this is a huge, like, the only way I can say it is Satan is on a leash. Let me pull this up real quick here. Y'all are just going to have to wait because this is the big one. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. That's what it was. 1 Corinthians. I got crazy good Bible programs. This is great. This is in 1 Corinthians, verses 12 and 13. So, if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you do not fall. No temptation has seized you except what is common to man. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. Ah, that's so significant. Lucifer's on a leash, man. He can't just kill you. Even before you are saved because of the work of Jesus, Jesus has bought the rights. He's king over heaven and earth. And so Satan is no more than a tool. That's what I'm trying to get at. Satan is no more than a tool today. So here's the premise of answering my friend's question. Okay, during an old covenant time period, mankind existed under a season of sin and death that Lucifer brought upon the earth. There's a whole, I give four or five chapters of this book on that. Why we have Lucifer, who is showing up into the throne room scene, which no angel can just go and do whatever they want to do. Lucifer was doing that. Well, how did he do that? He stole that right from Adam and Eve. He was oppressing mankind. He's the accuser of the brethren that's been now thrown down. The accuser of our brethren has been thrown down. He no longer can walk in and accuse us because of what Jesus has done. Jesus has bought the rights to everything. And the birth and death of Jesus and his resurrection was a death sentence to Lucifer. He has no weapons against us. There's no weapon formed against us that can prosper. That passage in Isaiah 54 applies to us. It did not apply to those in an old covenant. The enemy that we face today, listen to this. This is so big. The enemy that we face today, the demonic enemy, Lucifer and his legions that seek to kill, destroy, seek our demise. The demonic that we face today, it's not the demonic before Jesus. That they had more power, they had authority, they were operating under a different season where sin had not been atoned for. Jesus came and put the enemy on notice. Everything in the kingdom is because of Jesus and his victory on the cross. And he disarmed the powers and authorities. Colossians chapter 2, verse 15. The enemy has no weapons he can use against you. You have filled with the Holy Spirit, and Jesus has made you a powerhouse. More than an overcomer is what we're called. I don't know, man. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Leland's going to go bananas with this. There's a bunch of one-liners in here for shorts. All right. Well, hey, love these videos. Love sharing with you. I hope that was really helpful and hope that answered my friend's question. Drop a mailbag if you have any more. Blessings.